3, 2, 1. No, I'm only kidding. Pardon me?
This slow chair is gonna drive me crazy.
You want to trade on that?
First, what do you get here? I'm taking a seat.
Pardon me? He's going to be late,
Wait till
probably.
1:30, George thinks he'll be late.
Pamela, is there yellow pages in your office I could go grab and sit on? They still make yellow pages?
Yeah, I'm gonna make some remark about you being the youngest member, so you had to use a pull-up.
Yeah.
The piano stopped. You gotta stay.
You sure? Come on, let's
Yes.
trade.
Here you go.
All right. Once we get our seats arranged.
There should be music for this.
Yes.
What some people will do for attention.
I know.
You may be the youngest.
Does that feel better?
Oh, he looks so much better now. You do.
This is gonna be a rough afternoon. Picking on me? I could've stayed home for this.
The honeymoon's over.
Yeah.
Couldn't, Chris.
You've been with us long enough now, Chris.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's call the meeting to order officially, since it is 1:30. And looks like we're all here, except George, who is coming late, but we do have a quorum, so we can proceed. And introduce members and guests, it says on our agenda, and I think we all know each other. We even know Susan Dunn, because she's been to our meetings before, but we need to officially welcome her. She was appointed by the selectmen on October 6th to be a board member. So welcome, and I am passing down, I haven't seen you. I didn't realize you were on vacation, and I did go to the selectmen's meeting that night, and I had the book with me.
Oh.
The orientation booklet, so would you pass it down to her, please?
There you go.
So,
Thank you,
welcome officially,
thank you.
and a reminder that this is an open meeting. So, let's move on and approve the minutes for September.
Did you make up, are they making up a book for each one of us? Because we requested that.
I didn't see
The
that
board
in the
members have
minutes.
never-
I know you requested it verbally, but I didn't see it in the minutes when I was going over that. But we will make up books for all the members. You did
We have
suggest it
never
to me.
received books.
No, you didn't. We
The
can,
minutes will help us remember it well.
yes. We certainly can put one together for everyone. Even though you should have all the information that's in there. You've all received it, but we'll put books together for you.
I think that's cool.
Okay. It's a nice way to keep it together,
Yes.
so that you can reference it when you need to. So I agree with that. Okay, the September 8th, 2014 minutes are in your packets. You want to take a minute to, I know you all read them when they came out. But would you like to review them and decide whether you're going to approve them? Anyone see anything that joggles their memory that they find needs a correction?
Should I worry?
If nobody has spotted anything, can we have a motion?
I move that we accept them.
Oh, yes,
Madam Chair,
Chris?
The only comment I would make is that we did have a conversation, as we'll have again today, about, within the report section, riders that were denied. And I think it's important to start to continue to capture that here in the minutes, given it's an increasing challenge for us.
Be included in the director's report.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
get included in the director's report.
It is, but it's also dialogue. If there's any way to begin to reflect that here in this record, I think that would be helpful.
Can we start reflecting that today, perhaps,
Sure.
then? I don't,
I guess I don't understand what you're asking. In the minutes, it says we've had to deny very few requests.
Where did I'm in my ever so
Under
brief
reports,
reading
C, you were
here.
talking about reports.
Yeah.
Item C, the director's report.
you're saying you want
Am I
to know?
looking at a different set of minutes?
No,
Okay,
no.
agreed, it's here, so no revision required. Though moving forward, I'd like to see it quantified with a number, not a few.
That would be in the director's report,
Yeah.
too.
That will be in the director's.
It is, yeah. So you
Understood.
just have to check that report if you
Okay.
want to know that that should be in there, and it usually is, so.
The point was not to put everything into the front page of the report when it came out on the reports, because the reports are attached to the official minutes of the meeting, so everything is there. It's just not this page.
Okey dokey.
Okay, so Louise made a motion that we accept the minutes. Did we have a second? Jean is seconding the motion. All those in favor? Abstentions? Negative responses? Okay, I think it was unanimous. All right, before we move on to the old business, I'd like to just take a quick minute to just speak a few minutes about the emeritus ceremony that we held October 6th for Mary Kay. And I just really want to thank everyone. We had a wonderful committee, Barbara Cam, who came up with a marvelous idea of having a table with blank note cards so that people could write and send notes to Mary. And that was so well received by people. I think we had like 40 blank notes, with envelopes there, and about 35 were filled out.
Isn't that wonderful?
Isn't that wonderful? So and then Jean took care of the plaque. I mean, it was just, okay, I'll do that, and she did it, and it was done. It was just great. And then the friends, Nancy and Barbara McCrae, just stepped right up and helped us out with, too many numerous ways of even
Beautiful
counting.
decorations.
Beautiful decorations, the flowers, they kind of
The
just,
teacup.
the teacups, the whole 9 yards. It was just,
Outstanding.
it was such an easy thing to put together with this committee we had. It was, for the short time we had, it just rolled together beautifully. So I really wanted to express my thanks, and to all those people that helped us.
Oh, definitely.
There were so many, I can't, speak to everyone, I don't want to leave anyone out, but we had support from Donlands and
Yep.
the Friends, the financial support also from the Friends, so it was just really, really great.
I'd like to add something. I
Absolutely.
thought the video was wonderful, and I hope Mary got a chance to view it.
She was getting a copy, the
Yeah,
family was getting a
yeah,
copy
I
of the
Her
video.
daughter told me that, so I thought it should make a heart feel very warm.
Yeah. So, and, yeah, those of you who were there or who were not there, I want to thank everybody who was there. But the daughter also did particularly mention, her daughter did mention that she hoped people continue to send her notes,
Yep.
to send them to her home address. They did get her mail, and they did take it to her. So I think for anybody who knows her, who wasn't there, that didn't hear that, it's important that people know that.
Yep.
Send those notes to her.
Well, she also added that she has all the cards on the wall of her room.
Oh, yep. So,
Yeah, so it gives her a lot of nice memories, you know?
Oh, yeah.
it was just I thought it was a really lovely event,
Oh,
so.
it was.
Thank you to everyone.
Breathtaking when you walked into the room and looked at
Oh,
everything.
I
It
know.
was just breathtaking.
Yep.
It was so nice.
Thank you, friends. Yes. All right. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to kind of revisit that because it was a wonderful event, I thought. So, thank you. All right. Anyone else have anything to offer about that? No? All right. Let's move on then to old business, our update on the kitchen project.
Big sigh, the kitchen project. So, the last that I heard from the Permanent Municipal Building Committee is that they are just in the process of getting the contract signed to have the drawings done.
Oh, goodness.
That was last month.
That's what I thought had happened last month, but it went into the hands of the attorneys, and I guess it went back and forth several times. and has just been signed. Starting from that, there's an estimated 4 weeks to produce the drawings. So this is the 20th of October, maybe we'll have drawings by Thanksgiving. Then they have to go through the acceptance process with PMBC, which will then put together the bid package, which would go out for bid and would need to be out for at least 30 days before the bids, before the time closes. So I don't anticipate that we'll be doing anything in the kitchen before January 1st. I'll certainly update you as soon as I hear anything more firm than that. But right now, it looks like we're good until January 1st for any event or anything that's going to happen.
So there's no need,
If the stove makes it till then.
so there's no need to go out and look for an alternative place for the Meals on Wheels and the
yet.
multi-purpose room. It's too early,
Right.
yeah.
I can't very well ask someone to let us use a space until I can give them a date
Yes.
that we're going to get in.
Plus, that's kind of been thought through and, you know, I think it's been in the back of people's minds, hasn't it? Is
Yeah.
it not? And we know there's limited space available, if any, for that purpose,
Yeah.
given the situation in town right now. But,
Gail and I are talking about this constantly, and we have
Yeah.
some ideas.
great,
We have several plans, ones that we particularly like, and then those that are the fallbacks if we don't have any choices.
that's encouraging.
Yeah. And Minuteman is
Very
also
encouraging.
involved in the planning.
Yeah. So. All right.
It doesn't seem to be a priority for the town.
Well, I heard when it went into the attorney's hands, that's when
I
things
know,
really
I
slowed
know.
down at that point.
Forever, a year.
Yeah, it's
Don't
been,
feel bad, the same thing has happened to the Congregational Church.
Is that right?
They've been playing games with permits and so forth, and I noticed someone who was finally digging the other day, so evidently they've gotten something resolved, but it always takes that. It's a shame.
well, we'll just stay on top of it as much as we can, but we don't have any power to make it move any faster, actually.
Right.
So,
I know.
it is frustrating, though, you're right. So. Any questions, anything else? Any other discussion on that, on the kitchen? Thank you. All right. Moving right along, update on the warrant items.
Well, since we last met, I met with the FinCom to get their approval for the 3 warrant items that we're supporting. The tax deferral, the change in the personal exemptions, and the needs assessment request. It was a very interesting meeting. Tax deferral, personal exemptions, they had no problem with. They very quickly voted yes to support those. So when the printed sheet comes to people's homes, it'll say supported by the Board of Selectmen and supported by the FinCom. The third item, the needs assessment, took a little longer, partly because it was bundled with 2 other items as one warrant item, but they again supported and voted to support that. So we're in the best position we can be going into the meeting with the support of those 2 boards.
The article that he had put in the paper was very informative also.
Definitely, yes.
Nice.
Very, very, very good.
Hadn't seen it.
I had many comments on that.
I
It
did
brought
too.
it to light and it simplified it, you know.
It was easy to read, so thank you.
It was
Vanessa,
in
for
the
doing that.
Independent, by the way.
The number of us put that together, but.
Well,
yeah,
everyone who
it's-
participated in that,
Yeah.
thank you ever so
Great.
much.
Well, it was a KISS typewriting.
Keep it simple, sweet.
But, that's right, and I'm hoping all of you mark your calendars now to make sure you're at the town meeting that night. It's the 12th of November,
7 o'clock,
7 o'clock, thank you, Mary. But
middle school.
that's even better, thank you. Get it all out there, so, yeah, I think it would behoove us to be present. So, yes.
May I suggest, as a member of the Needs Assessment Committee, that it is very important that each of us talk to any non-seniors we can and explain to them how important this is for the needy seniors in town. and that we need to vote this as a, the reason that the Finance Committee and the Selectmen were for it was because of a situation in the town where we have a few people who really need to have help, and some that we really don't know where all of the problems are, and the COA needs help. And that this is what they can do for a very minimal cost on all three. And because a lot of young people are going to be at that meeting because of the $200,000 plan for the track to vote for or against that. But just the seniors voting for it isn't going to do it. And so we need to talk to our neighbors, we need to talk to any group we go to, church, wherever, and tell them how important it is for the needy seniors of this town. And we need to emphasize that, because there are people in this town who have incomes of less than $10,000 who are trying to live, and it is a matter of either I pay my taxes, or I eat, or I pay the rent. And whether we like it or not, it's a reality, and they are good, honest members of the community. So don't put it aside and think someone else is going to do it.
I think it goes sort of even beyond just identifying needy people. It is about fiscal responsibility moving forward with Council on Aging and how we spend our money, and that we spend it in appropriate ways to really meet the needs of the community. And so, yeah, I agree, we should be, who's going to speak on the floor at town meeting about this?
Sharon?
Probably will be me.
Pam usually does that,
Keith might speak to it.
right.
Okay,
Otherwise it would
great.
be me.
But I think, of course, anyone can speak if you desire to. Certainly, you have the right to do that, so don't feel that you can't, but.
No, I think a unified someone
I agree.
speaking to it.
I think you're right. And it needs to come, and Pam usually does a great job about that. She's
Yeah.
quite familiar with all of the ins and outs of it all, so. But I do think that if somebody also feels they want to do that, then feel comfortable perhaps embellishing or adding to or something when, after Pam's spoken. Bob?
I was saying to some people before the meeting, it would not be a bad idea for someone between now and 9 a.m. on next Monday, and maybe the Monday after, to write a letter to the editor, as I did. I sent it in after our last meeting, and they said, I'm sorry, but you're too late for this week. You have to put it in again next week. They wouldn't just hold it. So I had to take it and change the date and send it back in the next week, and they got it, and they published
It
it just
did.
exactly as I wrote it. So that's what somebody else needs to do the same thing. And I just, you just talk about why you think it's important. And I thank Chris because that brought them back to the article. And but the key is that if we've got to keep it on the top of people's minds, that it's a very real, important, honest
And you
decision.
need to write that. If you do it, you write it as a citizen, a resident of Littleton.
resident of the town.
Not a member of the Council on Aging. So as long as you understand that, you also have the right to do that as a resident of the town.
And don't talk to each other, because it doesn't make any difference if you have 3 letters and they all say exactly the same thing, then they know you're setting them up.
Right.
Say your own thing, say what you feel.
Yeah, so along these same lines, I think letters, how do we get the word out? There's only so many people who are getting the paper, but more letters to the editor. They had not posted that, actually, any of the commentary for the last few months on their online edition. The last one's June. So we were hoping that this piece would be electronic, then we could send it to anyone who might have email. But that wasn't an option for us, but I did put it on our Littleton, just the blog I use, so that at least it exists electronically. And now we can send, for those that are on email or want to send a link, you can do that. So someone says, if we want to educate them on what it's about, we have that content similar to the Littleton Independent piece, electronic. But ultimately,
Send that link to us, to all of us, Chris, because I'll
I
send
will.
it out in the weekly email.
okay, absolutely, I will do that. And then I think it's and that piece is expanded a little bit. We weren't held to the same word count, and so to the point that was raised about the fiscal responsibility aspect of it, the good governance side of this. That we come out of this with details, data from within Littleton and paired with external data that helps us prioritize on what should we spend, and then measures and metrics as we're doing it. Is it working? Is it as effective as it could be, should be, as it was intended? That's the kind of governance that I think we all expect here in Littleton. So seniors win as a result of us prioritizing appropriately, and the taxpayer does as well. And so that point is made in that additional piece that we can use.
Go ahead, Louise.
I don't know if it's timely, but I was wondering, could we put something in the newsletter that goes out in November?
No, Pam just referenced that, I think.
It's gone,
It was in the
And-
October newsletter. You
It was
didn't
in the
see it.
October newsletter, too.
Okay,
It was front page on the
okay,
October.
okay.
yeah.
Yes, Susan.
I wanted to say, I just did the board training last Friday. Jean and I were there. And one of the things that the speaker continued to kind of almost harp on was the use of cable and cable programming, and especially about issues like this. Is there any chance, Barbara, for a cable little?
Chris was on the show with Barbara.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
recently.
He's been on for a month.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Talking about needs assessment.
Absolutely.
Oh, great. I've been
Yep.
away, so I haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris,
great.
Chris stepped right up to the plate on that for us, so
Oh,
thank
I
you
think
again for that also.
To Mark and Barbara for their crafty work with production and editing. There's a lot that goes on back there
I'm
to make
sure.
that, to
Yeah,
put
I'm
that show
sure.
on. So
Yeah.
good for them.
But that, I mean, he
Put
really
words in your
couldn't
mouth,
stress
right?
enough having enough cable presence, even to us filming exercise classes and having little snippets of the fun that can be had to draw people to. So I thought, well, here we have this needs assessment.
And that's so very true. And that also just makes me think about, even just, it's the smallest of ways sometimes too, if it isn't, cable, which is a way to get into people's homes, especially for people who don't get out much. But, talking it up wherever you are.
Yes.
Just with a friend, if you're bumping into someone and you can work around it a little bit. It's just a question of, I think, speaking to the issues and letting them know it's
You mean like the beauty shop?
like a beauty shop. Yes,
Hanging out in the beauty shop.
I know.
Just before we move on, just on communication on these articles. So I know we had talked about getting something in the Power and Light envelopes, but that
We
was
can't do that.
determined we couldn't.
We were told we couldn't do it.
No.
What was the reason for that?
Because Keith said no.
Was it the nature of the
Keith?
content or the timing
Who's
or?
No, it was,
No.
it was a fear that it would be seen as a political rather than an informational, I believe, isn't that right?
That was the impression I
And they didn't want us to compromise what we are.
That's too bad.
and
I still don't understand.
Well,
new
I'm
at
not-
this.
I-
don't
you
I didn't
know-
understand either, but we can't,
Yeah.
I've
Right.
learned not to argue with the powers that be.
Yeah, yeah.
right, I think,
It'll be a while.
but that was, we were working on it actually, and then we were, because we wanted it just to be an informational thing, but the perception was not there, that that's all it would be. So I think we will have to work on that for the future.
But how else can we get it out?
Right. Any other ideas?
Could we put something, would the Action Unlimited put something in?
That's a good
No,
point.
I would bet if we.
They only put in, I tried this one time, they will only put in information about events, because I sent it, I can't remember what the topic was, but I sent them something and I said, will you run this? And they came back and said no. They don't see themselves as a newspaper.
Right.
They advertise.
But once in a while, they
events.
have our special articles, and that's why I wondered whether.
Those
they
are
might-
their special articles.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well-
We'd have to pay for an ad, whether it's an eighth of a page, quarter page, et cetera.
And that might be seen as a no-no too, probably paying for something like that.
Certainly couldn't come out of my budget,
No.
because that would be.
What about
Right,
church
would be.
bulletins?
Well, I don't know that you could get it, I was thinking about churches in general,
Yeah.
and I think even in speaking to people, I know I've spoken to a couple of people in my church, after church, when you're having a cup of coffee or whatever, and just chit-chatting a little, or at another event, or whatever. But you can interact with people there.
We need to send some of the posters to the churches just to ask them to post it on their bulletin board, and if possible, to, announce or put it in their bulletin because of the importance. That could be done.
The flyer.
Yeah.
From the church side, my problem is I don't think many people read the bulletin boards. If it's announced or talked about, that's different.
It is, I
But at
think.
least it'll be in their hands and we can say,
I just had another thought when we were talking about that, and it's gone, came in and went out. Well,
That
I'll come
happened.
back to it. So,
the other thing is if we can put it on a half-page insert and send it out to them and give them permission to copy it and put it in their church bulletin.
Yeah, that's what I
Much
was.
better to give them something which they can just put in than ask them to create it themselves.
We could explore that a little bit more, I suppose, if you wanted to.
Every little bit helps.
Well, that's true, very true. I think that's why we're spending time
Yeah.
trying to brainstorm a
The
little bit
only
here.
caution I would have is that I read St. Anne's Bulletin every month, and I don't see anything political in there.
Right.
I would see it as a political thing in there
Yeah.
too, but
And I don't see any
Yeah, I
reference to.
think, I look at it as a humane thing rather than a political thing.
The
Well, see,
political
I
part is that
I
it's
would put
coming
it
up
in
at
as a
town
half-page
meeting.
insert into the church bulletin. I would ask the secretary if she would include that. And if it was done as a half-page, because that's what goes into ours, not a full-page situation. But in some, it may be possible. But I'm thinking, even if we put together that poster and then put it in two formats, one is a poster and one is an insert, and we can play games with it, and then just ask them, just email it to the church secretaries and ask them if they would do that.
That's a great idea.
I can run that past Keith.
yeah, I think I think it has to, I would feel comfortable if it was
Yeah.
sanctioned, I would think, by Keith.
What about the various rental properties in Littleton?
The rental
Yeah,
properties?
people that rent the apartments and stuff.
And what about them? I mean, you're just.
Could we have do they have a bulletin board? Could we have a poster there?
Oh, I don't know.
Could if somebody walked in and posted it. I mean, we're gonna have these posters, if we can get them out, if we can put one in Donlands. We're giving them out at the fair, we certainly can put them up anywhere that there's a bulletin board to put them on.
Bob's referring to a one-page flyer poster that we're collaborating with Pamela on so that we get this, a condensed version of the three, articles.
And then we're-
For-
then
As a
we're going
flyer
to-
at the wellness fair and any other gathering.
At the wellness fair, so.
Yeah, that's a great idea, though, if we can put them up and we have it. Yeah.
So, okay, welcome, George.
Thank you.
We're talking about the warrant items and getting the word out, and we were talking about the articles that have come out, and that I was reminding folks that they're welcome to write a letter to the editor or something along that line, but they must do it as a resident of the town, not as a council on aging board member. And everyone has a right to do that as a resident. And then we were talking about additional ways that we could inform people, educate them as to the value of this for everyone, and for the younger folks in town as well as the seniors, because it is a fiscally sound way of approaching some of the problems for elders, too. So, that's where we're at, just to catch you up to speed a little. And I'm sure that, Pam, you've talked to Keith a little bit about the distribution. We were not allowed to put something in the electric light bills because it was perceived to be a politically, focused type of thing.
Telling people how to vote.
So, and the same, that's what bothers me a little bit about posting something around, too. I don't know how that would be previewed or seen, but that's just my question. And I won't know the answer until I ask, so myself.
Well, it's strictly an informational piece. so-
I agree, but that's what we wanted in the electric light thing, too, was informational. That was all it was. It wasn't saying we urge you to vote yes, or anything along that line. It was strictly informational. So,
How about if we have a half-page note and hand them all out at the veterans lunch? ask those people to take them home to their younger family members.
That's a good
Get some of
idea.
them that way.
Well, let's ask the people who are running the Veterans Luncheon.
Is that okay, Barb?
We may have another Keith over there, we want to make sure.
That be okay?
But I think that's late. I think that it should be.
It's a day
That's the
before.
day of.
That's the day of, yeah, that's right, the
That's what I'm
10th,
saying,
yeah.
it's kind of late.
Yeah, but some people might be going to vote after the
I mean, they
luncheon.
might not take them home that day.
That's
No,
George.
that's-
Madam Chair,
Meetings that night.
through to Barbara, is there any way you can help us with the TV program on that?
Well, George, Chris is on TV this whole month, talking about it.
Oh, okay.
And I've been writing the script for next month, and I have it in there too. So, yeah,
Okay,
gladly.
thank you.
Okay.
So we are keeping it up. We are
It is
getting
out
up.
there.
The key is that people need to know that it's happening.
Right, and we just need to keep individually, you know, too, as well as getting out posters if we can do that and everything, but individually, just keep focusing on it and speaking about it.
And I don't want anybody to promise that they'll vote for the 200,000 if everybody votes for the seniors. That's political.
But that is so very true. There will be a lot of younger folks at this particular town meeting. So it is important that the whole perception is there to understand it. Yes.
I know that it's on the warrant, and I know that people get all the information when they come in to, the meeting. Couldn't we have that flyer you're talking about passed out as, like somebody stand out in the hall or outside and give them this particular flyer so they can sit down and read it, so that when it comes up that evening, they'll already have read why it's so important? Because going through the whole warrant, I know I skim,
Yeah.
but if you get something handed to you, it's like, oh, what's this all about, Put down important on it, or, important for
Attention.
your future and the future, the senior's future, whatever. The seniors now and your future when you're a senior. But,
We're all aging.
Yeah,
Put
yeah.
that on the top, and I'll read it.
But I think maybe that would be another way to do it.
That down.
Have that,
I'll put that to ask Keith as well, if we can do that.
yeah, because they must hand out stuff, I think, that evening. So
Maybe
maybe
some
they'll let you-
guidelines about how it has to be written,
Yeah, sure,
but
Yeah.
I'll find out.
yeah. I hope it's okay, but.
Well, she can check that out for us then.
Yeah, right, good.
I meet with Keith tomorrow.
Okay, then can you send us all a message
Yeah,
as to
update
the
it.
result and update us on that?
What about the dump?
The dump, the sand? I haven't heard that word in many years now.
Sanitary refill.
Is the voting before or after?
Sanitary refill.
The voting?
Is it
I
the
call it the
week
dump,
before
too.
or the weekend?
Everybody does.
The election?
It's always a dump.
That's the week before, a week after vote.
The vote, the day we go into vote.
Voting is the previous week before.
It's the 4th or the 5th.
4th.
Yeah.
So, I'm just thinking, there's your flyer.
Could pass something right there.
I mean, they're gonna be out there passing
Yeah.
out stuff anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so there's 2 times you could,
I
Okay.
thought about, I happened to see Jim at Mary Kay's thing, and I said, if we see you one more time, we're gonna make you a citizen of the community. And he laughed, and I thought about the idea of asking him if he would endorse the idea of these 3 articles, but I don't know whether he would or not. Or whether that would be good or bad. But then you're getting into that whole political realm.
That's the political piece, I think, too. That definitely would be a political.
Back to, the transfer station or election day, I don't know, how do we coordinate if we just take shifts with holding the flyer up, and,
Well, I think the first step is Pam's going to meet
Yeah.
with Keith tomorrow.
Mhm.
Tomorrow? So let's see what the results are of that, and then,
We need to show them what we're doing, too.
that's,
Okay.
that's tough work at the transfer station, though, with flyers, and it's like, people just want to come through and get rid of their stuff and leave, but it's important.
That's where campaigning happens, though.
Oh,
But I
man.
think,
Good thing I won't have to do that again.
Madam Chair, I think Barbara have a terrific idea about it at the voting.
I do too.
I think that's a golden opportunity there.
And I think if that happens, and we're okay with that, and we can do that, then we need to set up some kind of a structure, thank you, Chris, for that. And in an attempt to simplify things, I mean, we have one of two ways of doing it. We could set up a structure now and then just say, oh, well, we can't do it. Or we can establish that we're going to do it via email and a phone call to Louise and Mary, right? You don't get email either, Mary? Do you get email? You do. It's just Louise, okay.
Well,
So, but I think, I agree, we need to get organized. If, whatever we are going to be doing, we need to have an organized approach to having people there to do the work. So, and that's gonna take a little bit of organization, so. Yes, George?
well, it's no, in my opinion, it's no different than the selectmen running and they're standing out there asking people here, vote for this person. I forget the name of that list that they have. I call it bullet voting. To vote for this person, vote for this, don't vote for this one, what have you. But to me, what we're trying to do is make people aware of these things going to be on the warrant, and we would just like your support. As simple as that. I mean, you don't have to elaborate any further than that. And being able to have somebody to pass that out as they exit the voting, probably, versus them going in, not to disturb them while they're going in to vote, but as they come out, just have people up there to.
It has to be an information sheet only, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it would be, an information
Right,
sheet.
right, you're right. Oh, yes.
The other point, Pamela had updated us with this email regarding the write-up that's due tomorrow. Pamela, is that correct? For the, they were looking for a financial impact number.
I'm sorry, you lost me.
So with the simple English, or however, the plain text that goes in the mailer,
That's already gone.
that's already gone.
Yeah, that went to Keith, and it had inputs from Bonnie and various people.
This email that we got said, town meeting report, last paragraph, which will go to the printer on October 21.
Yeah, I've already sent it off.
Okay.
And then Bonnie added some things to it, and.
21st is tomorrow, though.
And that,
Right,
when is it
goes to
getting,
printer tomorrow.
when is it
Okay.
going out to the people?
I believe it goes to the printer tomorrow, and I thought it was supposed to be mailed either at the end of this week or early next week.
So every home will get the explanation
And
of
that's just
all
a-
the warrant articles, a part of
That's
both.
just a plain text explanation, that's not what Chris wrote.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is just a statement. For example, it says that this warrant item asks us to change the income requirements for the tax deferral program from 20,000 to 50, and to change the interest rate from 8% to 1%. And then at the bottom it says, recommended by the Board of Selectmen, recommended by the FinCom.
Oh,
But they were looking for an-
There's a line, there's a thing in there that explains what each one is, isn't it?
That's what I just said.
That's what it is.
That's the part.
What I was getting at, though, and it may be too late, but it's probably worth conversation, is there's always that financial impact number that they were looking for that. And I don't know how, maybe it would be interesting to understand how the assessor, or what the assessor recommended for that.
Bonnie said 35,000 for the tax deferral program, 9,000 for the personal
Mhm.
exemptions that would come out of the overlay.
See, the thing, though, of course, is it's all paid back and with a marginal amount of interest. So you could argue that, I don't understand where the 35,000 would come from. And the second point, of course, would be the fact that we're helping the broader tax base avoid the burden shift when that house would otherwise flip and maybe now have 2 or 3 students in it.
Well, they didn't have a number on that.
No, but,
I don't precisely know how she came up with that figure.
yeah,
But I believe that she took the number of people who would qualify, and then some portion of them, if they took advantage of it, how much it would be. And that's where she came up with but I don't know the
Yeah.
particulars of that.
the program, when healthy and successful, it's fluid, and there are properties coming on and off of it and being repaid and repaid with interest. So that number has to be reflected to understand the real impact. 35,000 would be perhaps not problematic, but a deceivingly high number. The impact of this program to the taxpayer of Littleton is not $35,000 in this next fiscal year.
Over the long term, it's zero.
And, right.
I think they were asking for the impact the first year, the potential impact the first year.
Yeah, I think so
Because
too.
the first year, there'd be no offset. The
Right.
first year, it would all be money that was not going to be paid as taxes.
It takes a while to get that going, so that then you're getting the little bit of money
Mhm.
paid back with interest too, so that it does offset everything.
Uh,
Yes, George?
To Chris on this, that there's an impact. So if these people didn't sign up for this program, the town is saying that we would be receiving that money every year. So if 35 people or 20 people sign up for it and it comes out to be $30,000, well, that's $30,000 the first year, it's $30,000 the second year, and it just keep going until somebody comes off of it. So there is an impact that's there, and that's real numbers there for the number of people that sign up on it. So that's real income as far as they're concerned
Yeah.
with regards to tax money that they did not collect.
Yeah, especially in the first year, that there's a real number there. It's still a guess. I mean, we're at zero
Yeah.
enrollments today.
Yeah.
The most enrollments we saw in any of the surrounding towns were 20, but most were far south of that. So there is a number, but it's just important to find the whole explanation, because of course, perhaps in the second year, a property could come off of it, repaid with interest. So now you have revenue. So now there's that cost you're referring to, but there's the fact that the capital's returned, secured by a lien with interest. So certainly in next year's, when we reflect it again, we have to show the whole picture, which is not just money not being received, but it's money coming in. And then for the taxpayer, it's to understand if this helps for all the right social and economic reasons a senior stay in his or her home, then that also avoids that home from potentially being sold to a family, most likely, 3-bedroom house, something, 2 students, each with a net impact in terms of tax burden to the taxpayer of Littleton of $10,000, $11,000. Property tax on average is $6,400. So we're helping the taxpayer. Of course, that gets made up by the rest of us. So it's helping the taxpayer, A, avoid that burden, and B, ultimately, there's going to be revenue from the program when it gets paid with interest. So it's just important for the taxpayer to understand, over a certain period of time, it does not cost. As a matter of fact, it helps. It helps manage that inventory of homes, while also helping seniors stay in their homes, which is the right thing to do. And so just a number like 35,000 black and white, I just worry that someone looks at that and says, we got a lot of things to spend money on.
Well, the only thing is that if the 35,000 stated how many citizens that is based on, let's say it's based on 30. So we're talking about $1,000. But my concern is that if the 35,000, I expect the people, if they sign up for it, I think it'd be long life. I think that, you talk about 7 years down the road, nobody dying off quick, and it's being sold and coming back. So that would be my thinking about that. But at any token, I think that what the town asked for is the 35,000. I mean, really, I think that's a low number when you consider what people are paying for taxes. And if you say 7 people, the average person out there probably paying $5,000 for taxes. That's your 35 right there. So I think the broad, long, and short of it is that they wanted a number,
Yeah.
and they wanted to see what amount of money we're going to have to consider to do without. That's what I think the big picture is about.
What is the interest for a person to get on that program when they pay it back?
It's paid back with 1% calculated.
1%?
1%. It proposed 1%. Today it's 8%, which is calculated simple interest annually.
Because the reverse mortgage is much, much higher.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right, that,
But the point is that A lot of people are not going to use it because it puts a lien on their house, because
That's
this, that,
right.
and the other.
Yeah.
But for that person, or 2 persons, or 3 persons in the community, who it can make a difference between their coming or staying or leaving, having to leave the community and, you know, go into some other kind of situation, it will make a difference, and the change will help. So, at this point, I don't think there's anything we can do about the number, so I would suggest we move on.
Okay. Everyone else okay with that?
Yep.
Moving on, I don't think there is, excuse me, George?
I just wanted, you had mentioned as to what type of plan we was gonna do. Were we gonna try to do something at the voting? Or that's something that Pam is going to?
Pam's gonna talk to Keith about it tomorrow, and if we can move forward with some of this, she's gonna send an email out to all of us.
Okay,
Then, we need to organize, because I do believe our next meeting is like 2 days before the town meeting, if I'm not mistaken. So we would have to organize something via email and a couple of phone calls to people that don't have email. As long as the board agrees to that approach, I'm fine with that. I'll, spearhead getting emails out to everybody and trying to organize it.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right. So, we'll wait and see
Yep, I'll
what
let you know
Pam
right
finds
away.
out tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. Is that agreeable to everyone?
Yep.
All right,
Sounds good.
thank you. Then we can move on, I think, to the wellness fair.
Well, I just want to remind everybody, the Wellness Fair is this Saturday at the middle school from 10 until 2. Get a chance, come by. If you didn't get your flu shots, you can get your flu shots there. Looks like we're going to have about 35 vendors. And the Concord Healthcare Company is providing lunch. Free lunch.
Wow. That's very nice.
Who's doing that?
Concord Healthcare.
It's been a growing event, I
Mhm.
think.
Had
It's
real nice response from the vendors. Has some new vendors this year.
great. All right, any questions about that?
No, I've seen it advertised, so I hope others see it also.
And come down, I know I'm gonna be there hopefully around 10:15, I think, is when I was expecting to be there, so before I leave later in the afternoon to be gone, but anyway. So, try to show up. if you
I'll be
can.
there then, but I'll be back at noontime.
Okay. All right. Everyone all set with that? Okay. Let's move on then. And we have, and I'm sorry, I didn't even ask for names of guests, and I apologize to you, but I know Mary Hunt is here, and Tina, and of course, and Barbara, and we welcome you.
Actually, I prefer Patty.
Patty. That's a switch from Mary.
I know. But I thought I should apply as my real first name, but I go by Patty.
All right, okay. Well, that's nice to know you, Patty, and welcome. And we do have her application to become a board member in our packet. And I was fascinated, you were on the board. You're returning?
Many moons ago.
Well, I was there many moons ago also, before I returned. This is my 3rd year now since I returned, but, so I'm familiar with that. So, great.
Patty, who was the chair when you were on? Because I remember with you.
Yes, I know. It's been a while, Mary.
Do you remember who the chair was at that time? Was it Edith? No?
She said
she was
the chair also.
I beg your
served
pardon?
as
She
chair
said she
for
was
a
the
year
chair
or two before
also.
I left.
Right, but even so.
I was the chair when I came.
No? Did
Hey,
you
can I
step,
ask
you
a
stepped down
question?
at the end of your term, or what?
I did.
I remember I had to step down because of family commitments when I,
I moved on to something different.
you just had
Yeah.
a change of scenery for a while, huh?
I guess.
Variety's the spice of life, they say, you know?
Rich, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Peg, I wondered, having sat here now and listened to us, how do you feel about that? And your ability, how do you feel about that and your ability to share on the board?
Oh, I thought it was very interesting. I enjoyed it for one thing. And I have to tell you, it was actually Mary Kay who kind of twisted my arm and said, you know, why don't you come and observe and then consider it? So I did consider it. And I think it was on for 3 or 4 years, I forget how long. And I think at the time, I didn't plan it to be a long-term commitment at the time. And now that I'm
Middle-aged.
over senior citizen, and I worked in long-term care for a very long time, as you can tell from my,
You're at Life Care.
and I've always been drawn to long-term care. And I worked up at Life Care for many years.
How about now? Do you feel comfortable with, having heard the board today,
Oh,
that you
yeah.
feel comfortable with it?
It's interesting talking. I feel I can contribute to the board.
Good.
Patty's a team player.
I'm very much a team player.
Yes, you are.
I ran an office of 100 people. I wrote state policy. I'm used to being involved with people. Very analytical. I don't jump to conclusions. I prefer to analyze, research, think, and then act.
It's much more fun to jump to conclusions.
And I think I can contribute to the board. And, you know, being retired for a long time, you know, I'm active, but I still have plenty of time.
Patty?
And I just felt drawn now to come back.
Good.
When will the selectmen vote her in?
I don't
We don't
know
know
the
yet.
exact date when they're going to be dealing
I
with her
heard 2
application.
weeks because their board's very busy.
Yeah.
That's the last I've heard.
It took a while for them to get to Susan's, so, yeah.
Well, one, they lost it first. They lost
Oh,
my
that's right, they
application.
did that one, yes, yours got lost, but
Patty, when you were on the board initially, we had a council on aging. And we had certain staff and we had certain programs. Looking at today, can you see that it's a lot different than it was when you were on the board originally?
Oh, it's very different.
And that there are things that we have to do to,
I think there are a number of things that could change for improvement.
great, yeah. Thank you.
there's always room for a change, I think, and always room for improvement, so, yeah.
And we have a growing population.
Definitely.
Absolutely do.
And growing needs,
Oh,
yep,
oh.
great.
Anyone
Hi,
else?
Patty, so it's wonderful, thank you. Obviously, folks who want to participate, that's what we need. There are some subcommittees, and like the Needs Assessment Subcommittee, which will be doing, quite a bit of work, which, needs attention as well. What would be your interest level in perhaps joining that subcommittee as well, Needs Assessment? Yes.
So putting in our bid now.
I was gonna say, wait a minute now. We have a few subcommittees, so they can't
that's-
steal you before you're a board member.
That's
I'm
matter of record.
I'm only teasing,
If the
Yeah.
selectmen approve it, that's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm free to participate in advance if you really want me to come.
Yeah,
No.
that's wonderful. There will be work to do.
I think the Needs Subcommittee has a huge job, and they do need
Yeah.
active
Do you have a
members.
specific interest that has drawn you back? Is there something specifically that was going on that made you think you needed or wanted
Do
to
you
come?
want an honest answer?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Mary Kay.
Just Mary?
Oh, I have
Mary
goosebumps.
Kay.
Yeah,
And when I came to her presentation a
Yes.
week ago, Barbara was holding the microphone, and I said, well, Mary, we really miss you. And I was drawn to the board before by you, and I'm drawn back. I will never replace Mary Kay.
no one will ever
No one
replace
will.
Mary Kay.
I told her I was coming back and applying.
Great.
I have
Oh,
goosebumps.
that's
I have
wonderful.
goosebumps. I'm sure she heard you.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked with Mary Kay at St. Anne's a lot.
Okay.
That's called being touched by the Spirit.
That's right.
But I'm just drawn also because, you know, being a senior citizen.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I wondered if there was a specific sort of draw to what we're doing or
Well, I've
what could
always
be
been
done.
drawn to seniors.
Okay,
I think that's what it is, you know, the nursing home and just working with seniors my whole life.
great, thank you.
Yeah, you have quite a,
I have to share something. I wish I went to Mass more often, but I was at Mass Sunday, and who was sitting back of me, as always, but Mary Catalano. But who was sitting in front of me but Patty?
here we go. Other questions for Patty?
Well, I just want to thank you for stepping up and coming back. It's always great to find people that enjoyed what they were doing previously and decide to come back to help out. So, thank you, and you're welcome on board. Yeah, you're quite welcome.
And it does give you a different perspective, I think, having done the same thing, been on the board once. Mine was many, you were there, and it's many moons ago, for me, but as well, but many more moons, I think. But you have a different perspective too when you return, I think, and it's, you know, you have renewed energy, and it's a good thing.
And we have all that excitement at the beginning of each meeting with where to sit. And you're like, oh, that's just fun. That was just fun.
We're all gonna come the night before now and camp out.
Yeah.
I thought Mary was going to ground me.
I would move that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they appoint Mary Hunt as the new member of the board.
Second.
Appropriate meeting.
Agreed.
All in favor? Oh, I can't vote.
Barb, have you-
We're very lucky to have the last three that have joined us.
Oh, definitely.
4.
Or,
Well, speak for yourself. I think we're very lucky to have all of us that's been here.
That's right, George, too.
now we have a wonderful blend.
Definitely.
We do. We have a lot of, you know, experienced, knowledgeable people helping the new folks get up to speed. So I
Watch
think
those
it's great.
boots over there.
All right. So, well, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for coming and sharing with us today to
Try
help
not
us.
to disappoint you.
I don't.
But one last,
I don't think
one
so.
last question. Had you seen us on TV? No, I'm asking previously. Have you seen us on TV?
No.
I haven't seen us either.
Oh, I have.
God, obviously, she's
I
not
didn't get up at
threatened by
7 o'clock in
that.
the morning when they put it
Not
on.
threatened
Yeah,
by being on
that's the
TV.
good news to me is they put us on at 7:30 on Sunday.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the reports? Friends, update.
That would be you.
Did you pick up, you dropped a piece of paper over there, did you see it? It was down on your left side, okay. I wanted to point it out to you.
I don't have that much to report, I just wanted to say that the room 233 is all complete now, nothing else to do there. And that the Veterans Lunch is the 12th of November. Veterans and their spouses are free, but guests are $5 apiece. And that we had a little chat, Nancy and I had a chat with the Girl Scout leader, and they want to do some things with the seniors, and we've chosen they wanted to do 5 programs, and they've made up their mind about 3 already, and they're gonna be fun. And I'm glad that we also felt it was a good intergenerational thing to do, although we'll do others too. But, so that's all I have.
And you do notice in your packet, you did have the minutes from their September meeting.
Yeah.
Pardon me? Approved minutes from their September meeting, excuse me. Okay. Moving on to the budget reports. As soon as he's done.
Okay, you have 3 reports. As usual, the first one is just what's in the account for each one of these numbers. It's 8.5 by 11. what's been taken in and put out for the month. But the two important ones are the Martin report and the office report. Just so you note, as of this month, the staff is being paid on a bi-weekly basis rather than on a weekly basis. So they had to make some adjustments, but it doesn't affect us, but just to let you know that it's happening. On the office budget, things are looking good. There's not a great problem. Anybody got any questions on that? This is through September.
Looking, see if I can see that.
Nothing that I know that's, extraordinarily different, so.
The 22 includes the above, right?
I'm sorry?
The 22 includes this up here? This 22, is that the balance?
You're talking about 22,608.
Paid out, yeah,
Okay.
out of the 92, as of this date.
Mhm.
Fiscal budget is 115,471. When we do it from paid out, we have 92,862 left for the rest of the year. The March budget is the same, except that what's going to happen here is, there is a decision that's going through the process right now and will also, I believe, be on the ballot on November, that's going to change the fact that Pam has 25% of her salary in the Mart budget. It will come out of the Mart budget, will be put back into the office budget, and then the things will be adjusted accordingly because of all the transportation now going with the coordinator and the people who are working with the drivers. They've decided that it would be better if her full salary was in, and they're coming up with money to pay for the, and that will give us more money in Mart, about $16,000 more money in Mart to work with, to pay for the dispatcher and so forth every year. So it's a mechanical thing. It doesn't really affect what we're doing. It doesn't change anything, but it puts it in different categories. So just so you know, that's happening. And that hasn't been approved yet. It won't be approved until November when the town meeting, but if it is approved, then you'll see some changes according to that.
When are you gonna, excuse me,
Go ahead.
when are you gonna pay the phone?
If they don't ask for it, we're not paying it.
What?
They have not been asking, the town originally paid, and then maybe it's coming out of the dispatcher's fee now, because they're calling there, and so maybe all of that, but the town has not charged us the monthly phone bill, which they used to, because of that. And
Would you like mine?
well, that's possible. But obviously, what you can see is happening is we are getting a lot of people. 474 monthly riders this month as opposed to 394 in August and 417 in July. That's a lot of people. And we're really hustling 5 drivers, go, 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 go.
What happened on this money that they was talking about that they overcharged? Is there any update on that?
They have paid us back the 5,000 so that we get what we have agreed to pay. And this change will then affect how we can pay the whole amount for the year.
Take one of the passes. Oh, I gave it to you this morning. That's right.
You have one?
I just got it.
Any other questions on the 2 reports?
Pam, do you still have refusals of the rides that you can't comply with?
You want to talk about the director's report?
Yeah.
We're gonna
Okay.
move on, are we done with the budget?
No, what she's asking was, are you still getting refusals for riders?
Well, that's
We're
part-
talking about, well, okay,
That's in
but we're
her
talking
report.
about the budget at this point.
Right.
That doesn't show up
Why
in
don't
the
we leave that
budget.
for the
Okay.
record report?
Yeah.
That doesn't show up in the budget at all.
Are you, any other questions about budget?
I just wanted to ask, on the driver hours here, how many drivers that number represent?
Fine.
We're using as many as 5, but, you know, they're not all, most of them are part-time.
They're all part-time.
Could be anywhere from 9 to 59 hours, to 39 hours, depending on who's doing it and how many we need and when we need them.
To be covered by the town, you have to work how many
That
hours?
doesn't include volunteers, that's strictly the,
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? No? If not, we'll move on to the director's report.
So you'll see in the director's report that our numbers are up. We've got a definite bump up in September. People coming back from vacation, attendance is just way up. 804 visits total to the center, 176 unduplicated visitors. I mean, those are great numbers. I'm sorry to have to tell everybody that we lost Hillary this month. She was offered a full-time job with benefits, and I couldn't compete against that. So as of September 30th, she left. And the grant also ran out for the wellness coordinator. So right now, we have no wellness coordinator. We don't have the position funded. We have the position, but no funding for it. I was able to find, Hillary helped me to find a yoga instructor. So we are continuing the yoga class, which has had good attendance with a contractor. Just a couple things I wanted to point out that were really good in September is we started this managing diabetes class, which was an evidence-based class, which has gone over really well. And then we also ran this RAD self-defense class that was taught by Officer Allison Brooks from the Littleton Police Department. Again, people really liked the class, and we're gonna have her come back in spring. She went off and got RAD training, and she was teaching the specific RAD seniors course for our people.
what is RAD?
It's been around for about 20 years, so unfortunately.
what does it mean?
Well, unfortunately, RAD stands for Rape, Assault, Defense.
Thank you.
But it actually winds up being much more about just self-defense and then protecting against scams. The senior one really gets into scams that are targeted at seniors. And Detective Pablo, who again works for the police department, came in as a special guest speaker during that segment.
And I have to share as a participant, that program was excellent.
Okay.
It raised such an awareness. I don't go out of my house now, but I have a different awareness than I ever did before.
Yeah, talks a lot about
So
situational awareness.
I'm glad you're having it again.
I do it every morning.
I'm pleased to see everyone's interest in transportation. Transportation is a really hot topic. Again, we are very much in demand. We run 2 vans every day. To answer your question, George, about drivers, it's probably more useful to think about the number of shifts. So we run 2 drivers every day. I run 10 shifts a week. So I have 5 drivers that are spread out over those shifts, and the number of hours they work depends on who's on vacation and
You
what's going on.
haven't, excuse me, you haven't had to refer anyone to Groton because they were offering to help out the surrounding towns when you were not able to give transportation. Remember, I
Haven't had to
brought it
refer-
up?
I haven't had to refer anyone to Groton.
No?
So if you look at the chart, you can see, and turn to the back page, that in September, we had 474 rides. We had 67 different riders. And if you compare those to just the previous month, you can see the bump up. And if you compare them to the line above, which is the previous year, you can really see the bump up from 360 rides to 474.
But also in unduplicated usage, because
Oh,
back
yeah.
in July of 13, we were 41 different people using it. Now there are 67 different people using it, right?
Right, 67 different people.
So people are obviously,
Oh, well,
can you explain the cancellations?
That's what I was just getting ready
Is
to
that
talk about.
unusual?
So these numbers do not show people who make a ride and then cancel. It also doesn't show people who we go to their home and they don't show. They just, at that point, say, I'm not going. Or occasionally we go to someone's home and they just aren't there. And I include those numbers because 138 cancellations, 13 no-shows, that's almost, well, I guess that is 150 times that we go through all of the effort of making it, putting it on the manifest, printing it out, driver is prepared, it's part of the planning process,
Right.
and then it disappears. So it's important to recognize that. Now,
What do we do with
how many
those that
times did
cancel?
you guys ask me this already? The reason that on here it says that no one was denied is because no one was denied. We were fortunate last month that we did not have to turn anyone away. And part of that is because we've started this process where on the first and third Wednesday, we go to Boston, and the second and fourth Wednesday, we go to Leahy and Woburn and places like that. And that helps to kind of bunch things up. And for the first time now, when we're doing our Boston runs, we frequently have 2 people in the van, which is great.
Well, the scheduling is done since March with the new system. Has there been any complaints on that?
I did a survey in the springtime, and very few complaints. Occasionally, I'll get a phone call from a person who very specifically has a very specific complaint. And the most common comment that I get from people is, well, I don't know why you can't pick me up right now. You have 2 vans, don't you? I don't know where this came from, but, you know, it's like, you have 2 vans, don't you? Yes, I do have 2 vans, and they're both busy right now.
I have a question, Pam. Van runs 8 hours. What's the average amount of time that an individual is spending away from home, from the time they get on the van till the time they get back to their home?
I don't know that.
Oh,
Depends on where they're going and all kinds of things. Yeah.
Teresa Carr gets picked up on Elizabeth Street, and she's dropped here in 5 minutes, but someone else gets picked up on New Estate Road and goes to Jamaica Plain. They're in the van a long time.
Question on the 138 that you said is canceled. Out of that number, how many of that number of people that the van went to their house?
That's
They
the
were-
no-shows. The no-shows are the ones where it goes to their actual house.
Yeah.
So that was 13 that we actually went to their home, and they just didn't
So the other,
come out.
the other people called and
So they
said.
Not too bad.
Well, it all depends on when they cancel. You know, when they call me at 9 o'clock in the morning to cancel an 11 o'clock run, you know, we already planned the whole day around
Yeah, I
picking them
know.
up at 11, and so it's not like I can slide somebody in there.
Yeah, I
If people
understand.
cancel a few days out, it's no big deal, but a lot of the cancellations are very last minute.
What kind of
I'm just
punishment do
thinking-
we give them?
40 lashes, generally.
I'm just thinking in transportation, that's sort of kind of a low number though, you know, considering 13 is not, out of that number, that's not a bad number.
Well, it's very interesting. Dispatch, 2 months ago, started an automatic call reminder system. You know how the doctor's office
Yep,
calls
yep.
you and reminds you?
Right.
They use a similar system to call and remind, and their no-show rate has gone down with that,
Excellent.
The no-show rate.
the no-show.
How about
yeah.
the cancellation rate?
I think the cancellation rate has probably stayed the same, but maybe we're getting them a little earlier.
Is that because it's legitimate cancellation, a doctor changes their appointment or whatever? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't track the reason for the cancellation. Even then, we'd just be going by what the person tells us.
How do you get involved if the dispatcher is doing all this?
She's on the info.
It is not entirely hands-off from my office to handle the transportation. I probably speak to the dispatcher a dozen times a day, and we probably exchange 20 or 25 emails.
Wow.
That's pretty
They do
time-consuming.
the bulk of the work, they do a lot of the work, but our group is so specialized, and there are so many exceptions, that they are frequently in touch with me.
Make sure that Keith knows that.
That's a big part of your job.
Well, it's
your
gonna be
daily-
very interesting to see what happens with transportation, because Keith now wants to have a whole transportation effort that is kind of picked up out of COA, so you guys aren't responsible for it fiscally. And it'll be very interesting to see how that develops.
Do people still call in here to make reservations?
Very rarely.
But
Yeah,
occasionally. And we
Occasionally,
just
but
refer them to dispatch.
right.
Not
Pam,
nearly as much as in the beginning.
what percentage of the requests for rides are to the Council on Aging, would you say?
I can work those numbers for you, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting.
To the senior center, you mean?
Yeah, to the senior center, yeah. Or directly to town. I think that would be, one time, it would be interesting to know.
Still a little concerning that the 138 cancellations, I'm sure it takes up a lot of your time, because if you get a cancellation, it's hard to, you have to call, and so it's time consuming.
It burns up a lot of the dispatcher time, because if you think about it,
Yeah.
when someone cancels, they've already gone through all the time of doing the setup,
Yeah,
and so now they have to like repeat it, because now they have to talk to the person, then go back, cancel them out, and in some cases rework the schedule because they canceled someone out. So
And
it's
you're
double
up.
work.
You're always gonna have some, things happen, and you
Yeah,
expect
exactly.
some, but seems high, so.
Yeah,
Well,
but
again, I think it's the
I think in the other sense is that people got the word and they're doing what the system wants them to do. There's a call, if they can't make it, they're calling the council and says, hey, I can't go. So it's better for them to call and have 138 than people don't call and they send
No
people out
shows.
there.
Right.
You now expending the cost to operate the vehicle out there now.
True,
Well, and
absolutely.
the other thing that happens with no-shows is, and Tina can attest to this, we get very nervous when the driver calls us and says, I'm at so-and-so's house, and there's no answer.
Yep.
And that usually kicks off a whole nother
Yeah.
set of phone calls.
Yep, definitely.
And in some cases, even contacting the police.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
again,
I'm sure they're
specialized
okay.
population.
Right, are they on the floor
Yeah.
or something?
Right.
So I commend the people for calling. It's the right thing to do.
It is, it is.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
bet you that automatic call thing is probably prompting people as well to say, oh, I changed my mind, I'm not going, that kind of thing.
That depends
They
on that
press
call.
one or two, and that's all they have to do, so that's good.
And that's okay, it's good, though, that they
Yeah.
feel comfortable doing it, so we want to keep, hopefully, it.
Do we have people that volunteer to drive people aside from the van?
We have a few friendly visitors
Yeah,
who do
yeah.
drive people.
One person mentioned to me how much they appreciated it.
But we have talked about that and the liabilities involved in using private cars and private people, and there's some problems there too, so we have to be very careful about
Yeah.
doing that.
A quick question, Pam, on this wellness fair, is there any transportation for any of the people that need to get over here? Is there anything being offered?
We could do it, if anyone called and asked, we would do it. We haven't had any calls yet. And we're also providing transportation. We've advertised for town meeting and for the polls.
Excellent.
I think an awful lot of people use the absentee ballot, so we have never had to go to the polls. And I don't think, I don't know if you did it before I came, that you regularly went to town meeting, but I don't think we've gone to town meeting either. We print it, and we tell people, if you want a ride, let us know, but we haven't had any response. Oh, the other thing that's interesting this week is the advertising. There's a new advertising person with the newsletter.
Yes,
And she's
yeah.
been here all week, going around to businesses and talking with people and trying to get more advertising. And I know she's gotten at least one additional ad,
Great.
which is great. you know.
Wow.
And she
That
said,
offsets our
yeah.
costs.
And
And
she's
she
with the
said-
company.
Mhm.
Yep. And she said if you know of anybody you think that she could contact to advertise, to please let Pam know so she could relay it to her.
Yeah, when she came to see me, I gave her a list of all the businesses in town. I also made a list of the businesses that I thought would be appropriate for us. I took St. Anne's newsletter and I looked at the kinds of businesses that advertise with them. And she also gave me some suggestions. So she said florists, I put down Weber. She said funeral homes, I put down Badger. So I provided her with names and phone numbers of people to contact.
And her name is Lisa.
Now, I don't want Dave digging up business out of our.
Digging up business, so to speak.
Well, he ended the parade, I mean, after all.
We're all gonna get there eventually.
Oh.
So that's all I have really for
Anything
the
else for Pam,
director's report.
for the director's report?
We're
Thank
working
you.
busy.
Yeah, I guess you are. All right, Tina. Tina's on.
Oh, I have one question
Oh,
for us.
sorry.
I
You
wasn't
have to
here.
Wait a minute.
I wasn't here in the beginning there. I'd just like to get, on the kitchen update. What was the scoop on that?
Same old, same old.
Sometime
Same
after
old, same old.
January.
Oh,
It got
And
held
that's
up a
still a
little.
maybe, that's still a maybe for a start date.
They just got ready to put out, to get the drawings done.
all right. Thank you.
All right, now you're on, Tina.
Okay, great. I want to apologize for writing September 2015 on my report.
That's all right.
2014, I guess I was thinking too far ahead.
We all hope.
But, everything seems to be, going well in outreach. We continue to do a lot of fuel assistance recertifications and getting the information ready for the new applications that will be starting November 1st. There is a lot of interest. We will be getting some new clients on board this year, too. The Chit Chat Club continues to go well as a nice supportive day program, and Pamela and I and Sally have talked, and even though we're up to capacity, we still are taking, people who are interested and, interviewing prospective new people to attend, and we're thinking ahead to perhaps adding another day, when it seems like we have enough interest in doing that.
Where does that money go? If they pay, where does that money
It
go?
goes back to the program. I think Pamela probably is better at explaining it, but it goes towards the program coordinator's salary, and $2 of the dollars per person go to the lunch program because lunch is included in it.
Yeah.
And Pamela, did you have anything else that you wanted me to explain on it?
Okay.
Okay. And the, Living Alone group continues to go well. It's still monthly. We're trying to, get a little creative and take a couple of field trips, which I know they enjoyed last week when we went over to the Cameron Senior Center in Westford. And the social anxiety group is going well. And, we try to continue to meet every other week. And with some of these Tuesday holidays, we try to adjust some things for them.
What is social anxiety? What are you doing with that?
Well, in that group, it's a support group. It's not
Yeah,
therapy or
I know.
anything like that. And it's advertised that if you feel you have social anxiety and would like to come to a group and just discuss your feelings, you're welcome to come. And, we have probably a steady core of 5 people who come on a regular basis. And at some points, we have 9. In some instances, people have chosen, to say at this particular time they're doing well with their anxiety and they don't need to come. In other cases, people say this is really beneficial, even though it's supportive. It's not any type
But
of therapy.
it's their self-evaluation that they're having trouble with dealing with other people and.
Well, yes, and some do have professional help also that they seek out the medical
Oh, okay.
professions for it. And their medical professionals have said it's always good if you have a chance to sit down and talk with your peers, and they find it, very reassuring. So it's like a reassurance type group.
You don't need to go.
No, I just wondered what they did with something like that, because generally, a social anxiety issue can be a real problem for people, but it's the kind of thing professionals usually deal with. That's why I was just curious.
Did you want to give them the definition of social anxiety?
Off the top of my head, I think Pamela's better. Pamela's like that DSM, whatever, the latest number.
Well, I think you mentioned it in one of the things that you wrote in the beginning, is that, if you frequently feel very anxious about being with people, but when you're not with people, you don't feel that kind of anxiety. But that, by definition, is social anxiety, as opposed to free-form anxiety.
Well, I think the fact that they come to the group is a big step forward.
Yes, yeah, it is, and the fact that they do, feel it's beneficial, even though it's
Yes.
not in the form of education. We've tried some of those workshops and that type of thing, and they said, no, we just like the peer support, so
Yes, yeah.
it works out nice
Yes, yeah.
that way.
You said you were at capacity in the Chit Chat Club. What's that number?
Well, it's,
None.
I just like 10 each
Is
day,
your
10 Wednesdays. 10.
average kind of?
They went down
Thank you.
south and ate grits.
I mean, I can tell, it's huge. It seems like a large group.
Seems a
See it
little
down
right.
here in the senior center, so.
We decided we'd start a waiting list because we never know when people exit,
That's true.
and you saw that, Hazel.
Yeah, well, that can happen, I would
Are you
imagine.
thrilled?
Anybody can exit quite.
Right, yes. Yep.
Susan.
So it's 10
I've no-
average.
I've
It's
noticed
9, 10,
regulars, yeah.
9, 10, you know, and
Okay, thank
If
you.
they hadn't lost my application, it would have happened in August.
Anyone else? Questions for Tina?
She
Okay,
does
the
a
average-
wonderful job.
She does.
I just want to make a comment. You know, when we was at the selectman office there for Susan,
Yeah.
she's down south eating grits.
I know. We didn't know that night, though. We didn't get the message.
If they hadn't lost my application and everything had moved as it was supposed to, I wouldn't have been on vacation.
I know, it was so funny, though. There were
They called
Three of
for
us.
you and said, "Where's she at?"
4 of us there. There were
so
4,
cute.
George,
Thank you
Bob,
so
and
much.
Jean and I were all there, and we're like, and then Keith said something about, yes, Susan's here, and I'm like,
No,
I think Green said,
We
"That's
we
not
spoke
me."
up for you anyway, so.
thank you.
but anyway, it was funny. So, all right, moving on. Barbara, you're on. Senior Diner Bingo Monthly Report.
Well, everything's going well. Gail said that the numbers are up, and she said where she has always averaged sending into Minuteman $65 a week, it's now over $100 a week
Whoa,
that she's
nice.
sending. So it probably, a lot of it has to do with the Chit Chat Club,
Yeah.
going down for
Yeah.
lunch 2 days a week, so it's good.
That is
Yeah.
good.
Thursdays seem to be picking up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think so again, yeah.
yeah. That's a good thing,
So-
too, because Thursdays,
I think that's word of mouth, too. You hear people saying, oh, on Thursday, the food is really good, it's homemade,
Yeah.
and we talk that up, and I think word of mouth does work.
it does.
Yep. So, doing well.
Great, that's wonderful. That's good news. All right, Mary,
As long as the stove keeps
Senior
working.
Communications.
I think this is real wood.
Right.
My number one item was Chris and his recent article in The Independent, which I've already mentioned, on the senior tax program, which was very informative, and I hope everyone read it here. Number 2, at 7 p.m. at the 11/12 town meeting, the warrant at the middle school, there's going to be 14 articles, and that's going to, we've already covered that, include the property tax referral. There's a food stamp going around problem. People are getting notices, and I have the clipping to give to Tina in case it reaches her, where they are saying if they're not on a regular basis using their card, they're going to lose their credits, and that is not so. It's called the SNAP program. The recipients are getting notice from the Department of Transitional Assistance. It's an interesting program, but it's not as it is written. And if people are very concerned that they're going to lose their credits because they're not using for food stamps, that's not so, and I have the article for you. The other one was Townsend. They were looking for a director of the COA, and the budget, like other towns, Pepperell, Townsend, are very hard hit. They finally did hire a new person. Her name is Karen Moore, the director over at Townsend, for 35 hours for $38,000. Up until now, they had 10 applicants, and they sorted out 4, and she was the one that was hired. Hewlett Packard down here on Taylor Street in Littleton locally was penalized $12,000 by the state Department of Environmental Protection because they didn't meet all the requirements. They made violations, and some of that money came back to the local fire department in Littleton. They were able to purchase 2 imaging cameras and a truck charger, which was very good. From
Does
one
that
hand, it
benefit
went.
seniors somehow?
Huh?
Does that benefit seniors or something?
It's our local fire department. We pay the taxes, so whatever they need, this is one step forward, that they have equipment that they need
Oh,
to
okay.
operate. It helps the town people. Okay, as I said, there's 14 articles on the town meeting warrant, and ours is going to be on there, so I do hope everybody will go. That's about it for now.
Mary, that article about, or that part about the SNAP program? so
Yes.
Is that a fraudulent notice that's coming,
No,
or is it
it's
just?
just that it's a scare tactics. The
Okay.
article says you're going to lose them, and in reality, it's not. They're accumulating. You're going to lose on your card if you don't use it regularly.
Tina, did you already have this on your radar about the?
Well, I do have several clients that don't use their full allotment, and they were given like 9 months' notice, that in 9 months, if there was any extra balance on it, it would just, that extra balance would be taken away, but they would continue to get their regular monthly allotment. And I didn't,
The
feel that
article
they were-
says a year, where you say 9
Well,
months.
I thought
See,
it was
that's what this,
approximately 9
yeah.
months. But they are giving them plenty of notice.
Yes.
And they're giving them many months of opportunity to spend all of their
Right.
extra food stamps.
They don't
It
want to
sounds like
panic.
people are just confused.
They're confused.
And it's not any kind of a scam, it's just, what they're doing is they're saying, if you keep accumulating, we're gonna take away the accumulation. We're not gonna take away your initial credit every month, we're just gonna take away the.
Correct. And-
Right.
And
That's what it
and that's
amounts
what
to.
So
is
we may need to
included.
help people to understand that, not teach
Well,
them.
I'll give Tina the
I've
article.
talked to several people in that category on a, just an
Right,
individual
SNAP
basis,
program.
because it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to have been that many. It's mostly an opposite effect. We see that clients aren't getting enough food stamps, and they desperately need the support of like a food pantry to supplement what they're getting in food stamps. There's just sometimes an unusual case where the allotment is a little bit more than what they're used to spending.
Well, there are 6 different steps here. Sometimes the people don't use them because they don't have transportation, they are unable to go shopping, or they don't have someone to shop for them, or they don't do the cooking. I mean, there are different reasons why people are not using them.
Right. And
when they
and
should.
One reason we see most of the time is that they end up in rehabilitation, and they're getting their meals from the nursing home that they're currently in for rehab, and that's where some accumulate the extra. And if they carry that over too long, they take the extra away.
Yeah.
I just want to add on the communication, I'd just like to thank Bob for his explanation and the comment that he made to Chris, article in the paper, and he gave a brief scenario of the 3 articles as to why people should consider that.
So are you going to write the article for next week?
No.
I don't, you all ought to
Take
be
some time
writing
with
an
that.
article. We ought to have 6 or 7 personal letters in there. People have got to realize how important this is.
I have to get one.
Look,
All right.
I have a
yes.
good question related to communication. This may have come up before my time. So there's the phone outreach program, which I just noticed in this month's broadcaster. Is there a report, Pamela or Tina? Is there some details about how that's gone, or what we've learned, or?
We're just working on that.
Okay.
She finished? She's not finished yet. I had a meeting with her this morning, which I haven't had a chance to tell you about yet.
Okay.
Yeah, on 1 month in particular, there were a significant amount of calls that she had made, and you had probably seen that on the report. And then Pamela had asked that we expand it to include some younger, like 75 and above, and that increased the number of people that she needed to find contact information for. So she had been diligently working on getting the updated contact information. She worked with the town clerk, she worked with my senior center, and she's been making great progress. Today, we were able to eliminate we were able to eliminate a good amount of names that we already knew, people who were already connected with us. And she's working on the ones that we don't know. We don't know where they are in the community. We don't know if they have needs, but we now have contact information for them. So I believe she has, some time left in her program, in helping us, and she'll be able to complete the whole thing. And Pamela and I have been talking about a spreadsheet, and she understands that whole process of how we might be able to do that so the information, can be gathered easily.
Yes, George?
Yeah, I just want to mention, Chris, you're going to be live on the TV there with Barbara?
It's already been
I
on.
watched him once.
I'm just asking, are they just going to do a rerun on that?
It is now a recording that is rerun. This is Barbara's Littleton Common program, and it's available anytime on the LCTV pre-recorded site.
Yeah, I was just sort of kind of thinking that we should be encouraging the seniors,
Well, look at it.
irregardless whether they would apply to the program or not, but to get out and vote and support their peers along this line. Because we got seniors that usually get out and vote. So that's a good number there as well.
Yeah, earlier in the meeting, George, we had a big discussion about all the ways that we're gonna try and do it by
Okay.
sending out brochures and so forth.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
One agenda item for the next meeting, I just wanted to ask, maybe Pamela and I can talk in between, and that is in regard to the Protective Services hotline service that's available. And the ways in which I'm sure we are already generating awareness around that. But I've done a little bit of research, and I had an opportunity to speak with somebody at Elder Affairs, Aaron Ferguson, who had sent me some material. Obviously, there's been a lot of effort already put into this, I'm quite certain, before my time here, but I'd like just to talk about it.
Good.
The degree to which seniors are aware of the Protective Services hotline, ways in which we're generating awareness around it, if we need to do a rerun of a campaign about it. And I've also asked Elder Services for some, if they have any benchmarking, any metrics, anything that we can gather about, anything to help us understand, the line, how to communicate it, how it should work. And very much welcome the information we have on that and experience with it and guidance about it.
I can give you some statistics from last year.
Okay. I've asked them to send me just some, you probably already have all the stuff. Are there materials that they suggest using for the purpose of awareness campaigns? If so, what can they give us? And they're sending me some material. But maybe in just general, we can revisit this, particularly with respect to elder abuse, and how to make seniors aware of this
Right.
24/7 availability. And for the record, we might as well say the number now. I guess it can't hurt to always raise awareness, which is 800-243-4636. That's 800-243-4636. This is the state. When you get it, the typical menu, which is ironic, so you have to wait and hear, you're calling about something so serious, but you dial 4. And that brings you to whatever time of the day you're calling, a confidential helpline. If it's after hours, the state's manning that line, and if it's during business hours, it's referred through Minuteman. And depending on the severity, it could immediately be referred to, local emergency services. But that is a 24/7 line around which we probably on an ongoing basis just have to continue to raise awareness about.
I think it was February of last year that we hosted a state training on protective services here in Littleton and brought in people from COAs all around.
Oh, great.
Important topic.
And also, just before I ask for a motion to close, I know that, Susan mentioned that she and Jean had gone to Emmett's training session this past Friday. And
Yes.
so, and usually he has an updated sheet that he hands out, at every session. I don't know, but Jean was gonna make a copy of it to show me, and we can compare and see if it is an updated version. And if it is, we'll get it out to everybody.
Good.
So that you will have it.
May I ask, was there anything new?
Well, they're new, so they,
They've never been
No,
before.
I'm just asking,
Yep.
was he giving out, was there any information coming from the state that was new with regards to seniors?
He said there were a couple of things that were new, but
I didn't feel, I don't know how you felt, I thought it was just an overwhelming amount of information, but not a training. You know, I sort of wanted somebody to say, now, when you are on a board, you raise your hand, or you say, Madam Chairman, or, you know, some parliamentary kind of things. That wasn't it, but he
no,
just,
I agree with that. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't a training.
and then,
There's
It
a
was,
sharing of ideas,
right.
which it always is,
Yeah.
yeah.
And-
Different realities.
I felt that Littleton was so I mean, there were 8 towns represented.
yeah.
Air, Acton, Carlisle, Harvard, Groton, Lunenburg, Tingsboro, and Shirley, and Littleton. And I just felt like we were in wonderful shape comparatively, and then there were the towns like Lunenburg had somebody donate a bocce court to them, and they were using it for grandparent children bocce games and things.
Right.
I felt that the director in Groton was a little negative to, we talked mentioned Chit Chat Club, because Emmett was talking about unmet needs. And I said, well, you know, our group had discovered this unmet need for isolating and seniors and for caregivers, because he was talking about caregivers and how they go downhill so fast. And the Groton lady's going, oh no, we couldn't do that. We'd have to have a health official, and going, no, not if you don't advertise it as having a health official, you know. So I just think that we're much more open-minded, progressive.
I feel it.
COA than some of the others, and some were right there with us. And there was Carlisle sitting, the 2 representatives from Carlisle sitting next to me, and you're going, Carlisle, very affluent community. They have a room in the library where they have meetings. If they have meetings, they don't have a senior center. They have not many programs, and
And they have a part-time van, and there's not a drop of public transportation in Carlisle.
I know. So it was, in that way, it was very edifying. I learned a lot. I didn't learn how to be a board member, but I did learn a lot about
it'll come
COA.
naturally to you. That part will come
I
naturally
hope
to you.
so.
Some of us felt the same way when we went, that we were amazed at how little some COAs were doing as opposed to what we were attempting to do.
Right.
And actually, I thought, I remember when I went, I thought that I learned a lot from Emmett as to the structure and how things should be.
And what's coming from the state. And
Right, and that was invaluable to me, too, so, thank you. That was good, because, you know, it's always good to know and to get that information when you go to these trainings, I think,
And it was
for
good.
to be shared.
There were 2 of us, because she got there before me, so she was sitting across, and we would look at each other and kind of grin and shrug our shoulders and go, well.
One last question to the director. When we do this report that we send into the state on the grant, are we getting the data from, how are we keeping tab of that data on the people? And are you counting these cancellations as a part of service provided here?
2 parts to your question. The data for attendance at the center and Tina's statistics come the way they've always come, through my senior center, and from the statistics that Tina keeps. And those are reported, he's talking about the formula grant and the report out at the end of the year. For transportation, they provide me with several reports every month from Crosstown. And I have a report that shows all the delivered riders, one that shows all the cancellations, and no-shows. And I use those to compile the statistics.
So they know that we're really dealing with more than 474, we're really dealing with 5 93.
They're much more interested in delivered riders. They're not nearly as interested in that
But I would,
cancellation number as I am.
it's somewhere in that report, I would try and say to them, don't forget that these people also require a lot of work and that we have to get involved in.
It's interesting that every year they call me back and they ask me to reread the numbers because they think that I've got a comma in the wrong spot. They can't believe.
They can't believe it's
how
like
many rides we do.
what it is, yeah.
I was in a meeting recently and I said something about a transportation meeting and Emmett was there and I said something about us having more than 400 rides in a month. And people were just like, they just,
We're blown away.
yeah, they didn't know what to say.
I mean, you're doing something right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta slow Pam down, she's doing too much.
Hey, it's the drivers, you know, they're just running themselves, they're doing it, and
But
they're doing a
it's
good job.
how
It's
they're managed
fantastic.
and organized. So,
Fantastic.
Mary, and then we're going to, I hope, be able to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So
One
moved.
question.
Oh, wait a minute, Mary has one question.
Go ahead, Mary. I already put down 3:15, hurry up.
15 minutes worth. I was wondering, Pam, are you having difficulty with volunteers managing the office phones? Because several times people have said to me they've called and they've got Tina and you sometimes, and they feel that Tina has enough to do without answering the COA phones.
Pamela has a lot.
Tina has a lot to do,
Not you, dear.
Yeah.
But I think
Is
the question
there
was
a lack
volunteers.
of volunteers to do that?
Under the category of cancellations, let's say that we've had
No,
a
I'm not
person-
talking about
Would you like
cancellations,
to hear
the
the answer?
540.
Would you like to hear
Listen
the
to the
answer?
Just-
Would you like to hear the answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so we have one senior in particular who has signed up to work on the desk and has a habit of calling the night before and canceling. And yes, indeed, there are some times when I do pick up the phone, and there are times when Tina picks up the phone.
I tend to pick up overflow, so even if the front desk person is on the phone and Pamela's on the other phone, I'll pick it up, just to make sure they get a live person.
Right, rather than go to
just leaving a
voicemail.
message.
I'm glad to know, because you've
And
got
Jean
enough to
works-
do.
Well, Jean works the phones, and perhaps Jean can
They
speak to.
also, you also gotta consider too, that the person on the phone does have to go to the bathroom once in a
That's
while.
true.
And so they pick up the phone if we happen to leave.
Could you
Then they
use,
will pick up the phone if it rings.
could you use more volunteers?
I could maybe use one person for a couple of shifts.
Joyce is back, which is good.
That's the other issue, is that Joyce has been out with her shoulder injury, and she really wanted to come back, and I did not want to refill her position out from under her, and she just started that.
Okay, I just didn't want you both to overwork.
I called this morning and Tina answered because the other two lines were, they were on the other two lines. So,
Well, don't call.
I know. But really, didn't I? Yeah, it was like, and Tina's like, well, no, they're both busy, but, you know.
But if it's me, I expect an immediate call to the director.
Right.
As does
Yeah,
everybody.
Nobody wants to go to voicemail, but on the other hand, don't waste your time answering the
Right.
phone.
All right. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second? Second. Thank you all. Everybody in favor?
I-
Thank you.
We didn't give the next meeting date, but that.